So we're talking about something that wasn't put in the agenda for the public.
We had some last minute changes on the fee schedule. It's draft.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Benton City Council meeting of May 16th, 2023. So I'm calling this meeting to order. And Mr. Hyde, can I ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
That you may, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Wadsworth.
Here.
Councilman Sandretto.
Here.
Councilman Reed.
Here.
Councilwoman Funk.
Here.
Councilwoman Alcazar.
Here.
Okay. Everyone's present. Carla, I had her send it to your email too, as well. If you could check in a little bit, please. Thank you. All right. The consent agenda is our next item of business. The consent agenda contains the regular city council meeting minutes for May 2nd and bills and communication.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Funk, aye. Alcazar, aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda, and I have quite a few changes to the agenda. The first change is a request to testify on the wind turbines. Should be added as a discussion item.
Excuse me, Mayor, what number would it be?
The second item is another discussion items on the architect's review of the old city hall.
Call that items 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, sorry, H3 and H4.
Yes, I'm just trying to look here and see if we have anything else.
Thank you, David.
We're gonna
Um,
need to also add item I5, approval of the EFTs payroll vouchers.
Oh, that's not in there, was it?
No,
Okay.
that was not.
Thank you for catching that.
And then I think that's it.
Who are you proposing that's going to speak on behalf of the wind turbines
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
for the item that's being added to the agenda? Who are the guests that are speaking on behalf of the wind turbines?
I think it's
Me.
more of a
The
request
discussion.
for her to
The
testify.
discussion. Mm.
Yes.
So item 3 will be the discussion on the testifying. And
Excuse me, Mayor, could you repeat that?
item 3, excuse me, B,
You mean
I can't
H-
read tonight.
H3,
H3 is request to testify on the wind turbines. And item 4 is architect's review of the city hall, old city hall. And then item 5 is the approval of the payroll.
I5.
I5.
I have that.
Okay, are there any other changes that anyone would like to make? Okay, hearing none.
I mean, I have one. If we're gonna approve payroll vouchers, but they haven't been provided, how are we gonna
They
do that.
were sent to your email
on email today?
today, I
Today?
believe.
Okay.
Yes.
I went through my email right before coming down, so.
I'm getting more updates.
Okay. All right. Are there any visitor? Oh, have we got approval on the agenda then?
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Funk, aye.
Sorry.
Okay. Motion carries. Okay. Now it's time for visitor comments. Are there any visitor comments that are non-agenda items only? And you are limited to 3 minutes, please. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, can you do us a favor? Can you state your name and your address? Thanks for being here.
Yes, of course. Troy Phillips, here in representative capacity for Olson Brothers Ranches Incorporated and subsidiaries Olson Family LLC. Business address of 45304 North District Line Road in Prosser, Washington. We are one of the largest landowners within city limits of Benton City. And we recently, as recently as 2022, winter of 2022, entered into a rezone designation for a parcel of roughly 40 acres, which we refer to as the Red Apple Block north of the high school. Since that time, we received approval for that rezone to high density R3 rural from rural ag and commercial zoning. Our concern and what I would just ask of the council tonight is for some clarification as to the extension of the moratorium based on resolution 2023-05 extended for a subsequent 6 months by well, it was originally 2022-05, then extended in 2022-11, and then now being proposed for an extension 2023-05. My concern and the few items I want to state here, resolution subsection 3 says that the moratorium will be in effect for 6 months unless repealed, extended, or modified by the city council after subsequent hearings, entry of appropriate findings of fact, and development of a work plan for related studies pursuant to RCW 35A 63-220. In the most recent resolution, there have been modifications to that moratorium extension, which speak only to the Benton City I-82 South sub area plan, which was not in the original moratorium extension. And RCW 35A 63-220 states that a moratorium may be in effect for up to 1 year if a work plan is developed for related studies, providing for such longer period. And so my request to the council is, where is the work plan? What is the work plan? when are we going to be able to develop, and if those need to be extended. We haven't been given proper notice for that, and we would like to move forward with that development. If that resolution and the moratorium are to continue forward for an additional 6 months, I would like to propose that the council consider interim zoning measures and via an interim zoning ordinance to allow projects that have been in the pipeline for more than 6 months to continue to move forward on an interim zoning measure. That is my piece.
Okay, thank you. Your 3 minutes are up. Mr. Hyde, did you want to say anything on this?
If I could present a description of the moratorium, the statute actually calls for the work plan, if it is to be a 1 year moratorium, it is not required for 6 months initial moratorium, nor for 6-month extensions. That's the easy answer. The specific answer to your question is, however, the moratorium was extended with two unique facets. One is that it now includes the sub-area plan with whatever developments might go there, residential or otherwise. And then number two, it provides that as soon as the parking and development standards are adopted, whenever that occurs, the moratorium will automatically expire as to any property not within the sub-area plan. And that has been something that was delayed a little bit, unfortunately, because we had to wait for the Department of Commerce to go through its comment period. We waited, it actually expired yesterday. And so I would expect that the planning staff here would be working on a draft ordinance to be brought forward very quickly. And it would include the elements that would then cause the moratorium to expire as to the rest of the city relatively soon. I don't know if that helps you or not, but that's sure that's the fastest we can move, unfortunately, because
No.
we can't push the rope with the Department of Commerce.
So
Do
we
I have an
received
additional
the
3 minutes?
comments yesterday. And they had no comment, so we will move forward just as fast as we can. And if council so wishes, they can set a special meeting to get this started.
Do I have an additional 3 minutes?
So we need to have 2 readings. And then it's 5 days after the second reading that takes effect. And then you should be able to submit your plan for development and move forward from there.
Do I have an additional 3 minutes to respond, or how does this work at this point?
At the mayor's discretion.
Yeah. It's all right with me if he wants to continue to clarify this.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I appreciate the additional time. Just a few items of clarification. I think the concern for a number of the folks that are being kept in this holding pattern is that in the prior, even 12 months ago, in the initial ordinance that was passed, there was reference to this process shouldn't take more than a few months in subsection 3. And here we are over a year later, and we're still going on without any work plan. To your comment earlier, sir, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. Looking at the RCW here, it's up to interpretation, but the RCW from the state intent is that if a moratorium is to last longer than a 6-month extension, in other words, 1 year or longer, a work plan must be in place, and that isn't in place here. And so my concern is simply that we just want to know what are the action items for the council to move forward with this. When can we actually expect this to be done? At this point, we want the project to move forward. I think everybody is really, some of the concerns that are being addressed in these changes and from the Department of Commerce are relatively inconsequential for the development. It sounds like in a failure to respond by the Department of Commerce or a comment of no comment, then that would mean that there is no hurdle for us to overcome at this point in time. So what is the plan, and will there be a special meeting called to approve and move forward as the third extension of the moratorium declares in sections?
That will
subsections
be
1
up
through
to
3?
council if they want to have a special meeting.
And is that something we can get comment on today?
I guess we could. We can-
I don't have a problem having a special meeting, but we're still gonna be. Well, for the time frame it's gonna take Dan to put an ordinance together, we're probably still gonna be a week out before that meeting, so you're only gonna gain a week. Because it's gonna take us an additional meeting thereafter to approve the final.
I think that's my point and my intent is, these things have a tendency to draw on unless there are hard and fast deadlines associated which would come through a work plan that's required by the state statute, which is not in place here. And so my only concern is that we don't have a plan in place. We don't have a hard and fast schedule, and that needs to be done by law.
I think that this is one of those areas where lawyers can disagree. I don't know if you're a lawyer or not, but lawyers can disagree about that. And I would suggest that the statute requires.
Excuse me, Dan, could you speak into the microphone, please?
Yes, I'll do that. The statute only requires a work plan if the initial moratorium is going to be a year and not for 6 months. And I've been through this a million times, so I don't want to argue with you, but there's a difference in the people.
So do I have it then that the city's council attorney then feels like it is not appropriate for the council to adopt and move forward with a schedule that would outline some deadlines for the city to move on?
I would tell you this, and maybe this isn't going to be satisfactory because it's not going to be fast enough. It's not going to be fast enough, but I have already put some energy into working with what we got back from the Department of Commerce, which was no comment. So I worked with what we had going to them. The council can move as quickly as they are comfortable moving. And that is the best prognosis I can give you in terms of what the future is going to hold. I mean, I cannot tell you a date that this would be adopted, but I know that the moratorium, as it was extended, provides that as soon as the ordinance that provides for the development standards and the parking regulations is adopted and effective, the moratorium expires as to all properties within the city other than the sub-area plan. It can't be any faster than that. And that's, and short of a crystal ball, that's the best I can tell you.
I have no further comment. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to provide comment? Hearing none? Okay. Then we will move on to our regular reports. And we have the staff reports are in the packet. Treasurer's report, planning report, and the committee meeting reports.
As I say, there's no treasurer's report because we're waiting for accounts to be balanced for last month yet.
Okay. Is anyone here going to give the planner's report?
I don't see anybody up there.
Has the planner started?
No, we're talking.
The other one.
The other
The
ones
JC.
that are still on.
But I'm talking about the employee. Has our
He
employee
starts
started?
Thursday.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Does not appear so, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right, does council have any committee meeting reports?
All I have is I attended the Ben Franklin Transit Executive Board meeting or the Board of Directors meeting. Since the last meeting, nothing new to report. We had project update statuses on the Queensgate development as well as the new operations building that's being built. We did take a few van pools out of mothball that we're going to surplus due to a van shortage on the state contract, and we're gonna be putting those back into rotation with about 150,000 miles on them because we're having a demand for van pool at this point. That's the big news. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a comment, which is that the work that we've been doing in IED2 South and the sub area plan got picked up today in the Tri-Cities Business Journal.
Yeah.
So that's a
She,
good thing. I think
Yeah,
it's
she interviewed me
written.
last week. So that's great. Didn't realize it had come out. Fantastic.
And I read that this morning, actually.
Okay, sheriff's report.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
You've been looking like you want to bolt for the door.
No, I'm actually gonna go out on patrol after this, so
Oh,
I'm kind of looking
wow.
forward to that.
That's-
Yeah, it gets me out of the office for a little bit. So,
Commander Clark.
yep, Commander Clark. So as you guys can see from our report, during the month of April, we had 159 calls for service. Out of those 159 calls, we had 7 different case offenses. No major incidents here in Benton City that's concerning to us. Last meeting, we were talking about the speeding complaints. So as soon as I got back to the office, I sent out the information to my patrol squads. We actually had units sitting in those areas of concern that were brought up. The 13th of Kendall, 14th, 7th. So we did some extra enforcement there. A couple of the numbers I brought in, we had a 1.5 hour extra patrol off of 7th Street. We're basically checking speeds on vehicles. We had 100 vehicles pass during that 1.5 hour time. Out of those 100 cars, only 4 of them were above the speed limit. Again, we did an extra patrol on 13th. And again, that was for 3 hours. And 100 vehicles passed through that area, and 4 vehicles total were stopped for speeding. The deputies are obviously using discretion. The speed on the 4 vehicles on each area was about 40 miles an hour. So in those areas, 25-mile-an-hour zone. So they were dealt with. We're going to continue to hit those areas because I know those are high concern for the city. It's been brought up to us. So when we can, we're going to put extra patrols in that area. My plan was also to get the radar trailer out here to set up. Unfortunately, when I made the request, it had some mechanical failures. So it is currently being worked on. I'm hoping to get that fixed relatively soon. Once it is up and running again, we'll bring it out here to Benton City and be able to set it up and put it in those areas of concern. So if we continue to get areas of concern, we can move the trailer from place to place and continue to focus on that to try to slow people down. You know, it's good news. You know, we get the complaints of speeding vehicles. We want to deter the speed, and by having the deputies in the area, typically that's what's going to deter somebody from speeding. They see us. So that's where you see 4 speeding vehicles out of 100, which to me is pretty good. Does not take away that when we go to a different area, the speed doesn't increase, but we're going to continue to focus on the speeding complaints here in Benton City.
Great.
I
Wasn't-
appreciate it. Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I got home from work the other day and my husband said, cops pulled somebody over in front of the house this morning. After I left. And then last night, they were someone was sitting at the end of, right there at by the flagpole. And this car comes zooming down, the officer flipped on his lights and he heard him slow down, and I was like,
Good.
seeing it in action.
Good.
You had 4 at each spot. Was it the same 4 cars?
It was not the same 4. So, but we are out here. We understand that the speeding complaints are an issue here. So we're going to try to focus on that as much as we can. We did out of the month, we did write 10 infractions in the city.
Really?
You know, our goal is to educate the drivers, educate the folks that are visiting and driving through there, to slow down, because we know there's kids out there, there's families, there's, folks walking, so we just want everybody to be safe.
Thank you so much for that.
Just, I don't know if you were part of that discussion, but we're looking at putting in some sort of speed deterrent measures. So be aware of that, those will probably go in place at some time in the next year or two.
Yeah, I can't remember. I got an email reference that asking about the speed humps or the solar radar units. I did respond personally. When we drive down 9th, you guys have the solar panel there. That is a good deterrent for people, because no one wants other drivers or other people seeing how fast they're going, and it's a good reminder. So when they see that and starts flashing, it's a reminder to them, okay, I gotta slow down. So I think those are a good tool if you're looking at putting those in over the speed humps, but obviously you guys are gonna do your studies and figure out what the best method is.
Get the man on it right there.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night out there.
I'm gonna try.
Be safe.
Appreciate you.
All right. So then we'll move on to items for discussion. And the first is a contract for information technology services for Dustin Stordahl, Innovative Enterprise Systems. And Dustin is here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me. I just came to answer any questions you guys might have when you're discussing my proposal for services.
So we did have some discussion last time on a couple different things. One is with your router firewall, you're using a Sonic wall as opposed to a Cisco system.
Correct.
Is there a reason for that?
I mean, every managed service provider kind of uses a different stack. I got Cisco Meraki out there, like Dutch Bros, Tri-City Residential Services. The primary thing I don't really like about Cisco is just that you're sort of licensing the hardware. So it's more of a cost savings. I mean, if you guys would prefer Cisco, we can certainly use that. It's not something that I'm unfamiliar with or anything, but I think rating wise, they're both comparable.
Well, my concern is that every other municipality around pretty much is using a Cisco system. They use it for a reason.
I couldn't really speak to every other municipality. I don't really you guys would know more than me about what they are using or not. They don't really advertise such things unless you happen to work there or know somebody. But like I said, I'm not opposed to either. Sonic Wall, it's, Palo Alto, FortiGate. I mean, there's tons, WatchGuard, they all, I think are, in the top 10, basically. Sonic Wall, for instance, has like 1,600 employees in 47 different countries. It's not like some obscure product either. So it's just kind of, preference. Obviously, Cisco's kind of the most known, I would say, especially since it's sort of an American brand, despite maybe things being made offshore at this point. But like I said, mostly with the cost savings. For instance, at Tri-City Residential Services, every year we got to pay $500 just to keep using a router. Whereas here, you're paying $1,000 and you're going to get, 5 to 10 years out of the router. So that was my primary reasoning for that. Same thing with the branch sites, they're a little bit cheaper than the central router here. But I'm getting intrusion. So IPS and IDS, which is intrusion prevention and detections on the router level. Anti-spyware and content filtering. So blocking erroneous websites, pornography, stuff like that. I've never had any, frankly, 99.9% of your hacking or stolen data or ransomware is someone clicking on a link they shouldn't click on, answering the phone and being tricked into giving out their password, or typing it in some website that is not a real website. I mean, that is almost all hacks originate from, social aspects for the most part. I have, regardless of router brand, I have clients with, quite a few large clients. I've never had anyone hacked at all, to be honest, but I've never had anyone hacked in such a way that it was at the router level where they somehow, found some fault in the firmware and cracked in. And even if you were to get past that layer, you're still going to need to get to a server and have some other form of authentication, right? Your credentials, whether it's, Active Directory, which is like the login mechanism for Windows Server, or, whatever you happen to be using. And so same thing, like I proposed to move to Office 365, which is where most of their files would reside. So that wouldn't even really, be affected so much by the router as it would be. We would want to enable two-factor authentication and stuff like that to avoid people, like Carla here gets an email and she thinks it's, they send them all the time where it's like, hey, you need to update your password, and it's fake. And, we try to educate people as best as we can, but someone clicks on it and types in their existing password and what they think is their new password. And next thing you know, they're sending out fake emails to their contact list and all that stuff. I'm sure some of you have experienced that somewhere or heard of it at least.
I've had employees do that.
Yeah, that's probably the most common scenario.
So, Beston, did you get did I understand that Cisco would cost us $1,000 more than this estimate?
I would be able to give you I can't give you the firm numbers off the top of my head to go with a Cisco Meraki type router. I would suspect upfront, just ballparking it, you'd probably be looking at maybe an additional $1,000 across all 3 sites. The downside to me is just, you're paying for that licensing every year, which would be around, again, I'm just ballparking it here, but it'd probably be around $800 to $1,000 a year for the 3 routers just to license them every year. And it's not like something you can abscond from or choose not to do, because basically you lose your firmware updates immediately when your license is expired, and then you get 90 days to renew it. Otherwise, the router stops working entirely. And so, like, for instance, at Dutch Bros, they had Meraki routers at every location, and they still do. But their IT guy, they kind of were using just some random person they knew. He just kind of left them high and dry. And there is no way to transfer ownership of a Meraki router without them basically signing off the previous, because he licensed them under his name instead of the entity. And so that was kind of another downside, is they had to rebuy all that stuff and then relicense it all. And so it's just, preference is all, I guess. I mean, it just depends if the city feels that's worthwhile to spend, the licensing fees on.
I'm not going off preference. I'm going off what I know about other municipalities in the area. And there has to be a reason that your 911 center operates that way. The city of Kennewick operates that way. The city of Richland operates that way. City of Prosser operates that way. And they got rid of all their sonic walls. So there's a reason behind that.
I mean,
why.
for instance, the mayor signed up for, I forget the company. What's the company name? I have it in my email here.
Oh, the Pisces.
Right, through
the
Hanford.
the-
So actually, the contact that I have, Mr. Dillon here. Let me see if I can find it. I forget the company name, but basically they sent over a server to monitor all network traffic, and they're, I guess, associated with Hanford. And that's kind of their specialty for cities, is to, from what I understand, monitor all traffic and then let you know of any erroneous
Right.
sort of network traffic or anything malicious. And they've been wanting me to set that up for the past week or so, but I told them I kind of wanted to wait and see how, if we were going to be upgrading everything in the rack here anyway or not, depending on how the council voted, just because it would kind of suck to set it all up and then pull it all out again.
Well, we do need to upgrade everything. That's not an issue.
Oh, yeah. Well, my point is I you know, again, I mentioned to him that Sonic Wall was sort of on the agenda and they were all thrilled with that. No concerns, no negative comments. You know, I mean, again, like I said, I have a fair amount of clients. I've got Sophos, Checkpoint. I mean, the fire district over here was using Palo Alto. They never had an issue. Now they're using a Sonic Wall, still no issues. I don't really look, I mean, not to sound, I guess, arrogant, but I don't really look to what just other people are doing. I kind of use my own experience and knowledge and, you know, I've used almost every router. I've never seen, I guess the only one I could speak negatively of would be a company that went bankrupt called Hotbrick. That was over a decade ago. But I've never, you know, for instance, I know Technologize, which is a much larger company than our own, uses Sophos almost exclusively. You know, the company I just dealt with down in California for a client I have called BioGrow, which is like a $10 million fertilizer company. They use Sonic Wall exclusively. It really, you know, I think every managed service provider just sort of has their own stack. I can't speak, you know, to the cities. They may have CCNA certified, which is Cisco certified folks. So that may be just what they're predisposed to. I wouldn't be able to tell you beyond that.
The second question that came up in looking this over, you have Office 365 Business Premium for every client location.
Correct.
Do you think that's necessary related to our field staff?
I do not think I do not think that's necessary, but I haven't done a thorough site survey of each individual employee, so to speak, and what their responsibilities are. So I just wanted to give you guys a worst case scenario on that so that it wasn't like, hey, wait a minute, you know, deceived us or something like that. I think for sure the maintenance guys will probably be email only, but on the off chance one of them uses a laptop. So basically the delineation is you can do email only, which is like $4 a month. You can do business sort of basic, which is like you get Teams for chatting, you get all the web apps and you get email, but you can't install Office. And then premium is like you're a Carla and you can use the full Office suite effectively. And so I just wanted to give you guys the worst case scenario. And then obviously from there would hopefully be able to lower that down based on the users, you know, and that's why I didn't put, typically I shoot for about $100 a user a month in terms of support, but that's why I didn't put 20 users on the actual support agreement, because I assume there will be basically mainly the office here will be needing support. I don't think the guys are going to need a ton outside of when they get a new phone and need their email set up or whatever.
Okay. And those were the only questions I had at the last meeting.
Yeah. I didn't know if anyone else too might have any concerns or
I
anything.
have a question. So first of all, thank you. I mean, we know we need to do something. Doing nothing is not a good idea. And so it's great that we're working to move forward solutions. I guess the question I would have for you though, about the office suite, and when we think about council and what we're doing, if we're moving to Teams, does that mean we get away from Zoom, or we still need to use Zoom? I believe, at least for council meetings and the recordings, correct?
Well, you can record with the Teams. I just don't know if that's an approved platform. The state, I haven't seen anything per se that precludes Teams, but almost every municipality went to Zoom because of some sort of back end retention or something, right?
For their meetings, especially recording the meetings, even if they're using Teams internally. So I think it's something to think about though, is, you know, some of the staff having access to be able to use Teams for meetings, because I think while my observation would be the same, that most municipalities are using Zoom for their meetings. In day-to-day work, many of them are using Teams internally and sharing. Not everyone has a license for Zoom within an agency, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know how much that impacts everyone, but
Well, and the cost difference is very low. So if there was any value, you know, say to a maintenance manager or something having, you know, the Teams meeting capability on their phone or whatever, it's only like $2 extra a month for them to have that.
And then I guess the other thing I would comment on is something that we'd socialized previously, just as a, you know, from your quote perspective or awareness perspective, as we move forward, is I don't think we all as council people have that stuff on our devices, which maybe it's fine, working just fine. We'd also talked about, I think at one point, planning commission getting access maybe to tablets or something like that. I don't know where that's at, but just something that I would socialize as you're thinking about improving technology. If we have any old equipment that anybody else can use, or if that's something still
I
on the
can say
table.
that the planning commission, they all prefer to have their packets hand delivered to them. Because they don't have time, and they literally have said this, they don't have time to look at their email, or because they're at work, they can't look at their email. And they all want them hand delivered to them, so they don't even, you send an email and it's not checked, so.
But they're
That's
having to
why-
check it from a personal device, right? We don't provide devices for planning commission.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had talked about that one point in the past, even if planning commission, of which Jessica and I have both served. I'm sure other people have too, like even if we'd preferred in paper, we know it's an administrative burden. But we don't have another, if they don't have another solution that we're willing to provide, we can table that part. I don't mean to get off track. I would just socialize that though, as something when you're thinking about licenses and budget and efficiencies from just overall.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the nice thing. We don't have to do the annual licenses. I mean, you get a slight discount for doing an annual license with Microsoft, but you know, if you guys have something you want to try or anything like that, we can certainly do some monthly licenses and see,
No.
you know, if anyone uses that or not, but that's really depends on how you guys want to do things, or I'm obviously not privy to.
We'd stay with Microsoft.
Oh, I meant more for like a planning commission or anything you felt was sort of a test scenario. I think once you got obviously City Hall and stuff, all the employees here, you would never want to. I don't see why you would want to transition away at that point.
What do you want?
Well, it's just a discussion item, right?
Yeah, but I think she wants some direction. Right? You want to move forward with the contract?
Are you talking to me or to
Yes.
Sarah? Oh, I thought you were talking to Sarah. I couldn't see her eyeball. I would like to move forward with the contract because his initial survey is going to be really important in defining what really needs to be done.
I'm comfortable with moving forward.
Yeah. The rest of the council? Yeah, okay, yeah, so move forward.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a great night.
You too.
All right.
Gonna need a copy of the fee schedule.
So now we have a draft copy of
Thank
the
Rich.
fee schedule. And I'm sorry,
Oh,
but I
thank you.
made a number of last minute changes in this, and that's why it's late. So, who's going to discuss the process that you went through on this? Carla or JB or?
We got the department heads together and went through the fee schedule. We, also went to neighboring cities, and what they charge for different things. And so we tried to be somewhat in line with what they have also in, so like West Richland and whatnot, I think of which ones we changed. There were some that we took out for like water connections, like we don't have any 4-inch or 6-inch lines, so we took those out, or the meters. So, but that's all we tried to do is just be in line with other cities and what they're charging for fees. The,
What it is.
I went through this today and noticed that in some of this, they had only referenced the planner. But there are a number of items in here that would probably require the engineer as well. So in those that I felt could possibly use the engineer, I added that the planner, and I used plural on that, in parentheses, or the city engineers, whatever their number of hours required to do the work, or what they billed to the city would be paid.
So is the red strike through both your comments or just yours?
It looks like the changes came in red as well as the strikeouts. So that's a little awkward to see, but I think the underlined stuff is what's new.
Is that all your changes or is that yours and the city's staff's changes?
I believe that's both. Or in
So
there.
an example on the first page, the change for private property category A new business license of 125. I
did
wasn't
not
here,
change
but I
any.
would suggest that that was probably something one of the department heads helped drive on the first page. But some of this verbiage, maybe as you go down, like on page 5, where you've got the red lines and red out and
Yeah,
X outs, perhaps that's a hybrid.
page 5 and 6 and 7 are the ones I made. I did not touch any of the numbers.
I didn't touch any of that. As far as verbiage, I didn't touch any of that.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, so.
Can I speak here? Okay, Jenny McCombs with the city. I just have a question on the licensing for the
What
business
page?
license. Is the front page.
Okay.
125?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that should be a combined total to include the fire inspection.
Right, that's what I was thinking. And so that shouldn't be 125 because we're putting the fire inspection on there at 75. So we need $50 for, right? The business license. Oh, okay.
It got changed.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise it looks like we're more on track on the renewal, but I thought it was $100 and so then that would be $75 and $25. Right?
I believe that sounds correct.
It was that's for occupiable businesses only. And then that fire inspection is documented and it allows us to put that in the code as well, right? Okay. So it looks like it's off a little bit on the category A.
That's correct.
It is correct. Okay.
No, it's off.
Yeah, it is off.
But I mean, it's
Yes.
correct. You're right. It's off.
Okay.
So I have a procedural question. I have a bunch of questions. Number one, though, thank you for taking time to work to update this. From a procedural standpoint, is it correct that the resolution and fee schedule is required to be approved annually at the beginning of the year? Or is that incorrect and it's only
That
upon
is correct.
change?
And we were late in getting this done.
Okay. Okay, so first one was a procedural question. And then my second question would be if we go to let me find a good example. If we go to okay, like if we look at page 5. So under page 5, I just want to make sure like we're clear on the intent and then how we get there in terms of words. So we used to say something like under section 8, 15.10.270 floodplain development permit. It used to say, I don't know, let's just say there was a deposit. I'm not sure what it used to say. I want to make an assumption. But now we're saying there's a deposit that's non-refundable. If it's a non-refundable deposit, isn't that just a fee?
That should be a fee.
Because I'm there's a bunch of instances throughout here where we say, we're going to charge you a deposit. The next one's another example, floodplain variance, deposit non-refundable. And it says 300, and then right below it, it says 125 deposit is required. Like, if we're charging a fee, an administrative fee. So fundamentally, I don't think the city should be bearing any cost at all for any of the time that is incurred by third-party consultants that are planners, engineers, or staff time. Full stop. And the 10% administrative charge surcharge should also be applied. That's a starting point. But I think the rest of these things, they're not consistent yet. So directionally, if we're trying, where we're trying to head, so I'm in favor of charging for services used by people who want the services. But I think that this is confusing the way it's worded currently, because if we're charging a fee to start the work, not a deposit that's not refundable. I don't know what a non-refundable deposit means. It sounds like it's a fee. Then I think we need to call it whatever we're going to say, plus everything else. And I think we need, I don't know, Dan, if you'd had a chance to look at this too, and this was your wording, this is
No.
No, he hasn't.
confusing wording though. This isn't helpful.
We can change deposit to fee. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, it should be something like the fee to start or application fee or.
And I think we need help to look at another city or two to say, what are they calling that, and be clear, because I think when I read this, then what I understand our intention is. I'm not going to pick one of these. I'm going to use a very hypothetical example. We have someone who wants to use our city services and wants to have a pre-planning meeting, 10 pre-planning meetings, and all of a sudden they're 20 grand into this. We don't ever charge them 20 grand. So what we're saying, instead of a deposit or non-refundable deposit or whatever else is, we're going to charge them something up front. That's great. That's great. We should charge them something up front. Then we need to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of the time and how we're going to bill for that too. And I don't think so it sounds like that's the intention, but this is not translating through to do that. And I think secondly, since this is late already, I'd like to understand the process by which the city is going to be working to charge and bill for these things. Because I
I'm
don't
also in
think
favor of that.
we
Having,
have some old ones and some old stuff that I understand staff is still working to get to. And I think that this is going to be, we need to stay on top of it going forward. So it's important to bring this up as we get out of the moratorium and try to make it clear so we can do the right thing going forward. But I think there's some old cleanup that also needs to be worked through. That's fairly significant.
It's unfortunate that Sherry isn't here, because Sherry's been going through this with the people with maintenance and whoever has charges. And we've also incorporated it into the new timesheets as a special category that they have to flag. And so that's how we're going to keep track of the staff time.
But I think with, okay, so the time that the planner or the engineer put in the permitting process and in our program, it literally has, you can start putting charges in that. So whether it be one of the clerks inputting that from the time provided to them by the planner, by the engineer, by whoever, we have to literally, you have to invoice them out. It's not something that, you can just, oh, well, this is what happened with this, and, we're gonna hit an invoice. We have to invoice out just like any other company would have to.
Yep.
Put the information into invoicing.
Yep.
So it's, to me, it's like, okay, whoever's working on a project, if it has to be billed, then you need to provide a sheet with how much time you spent on it, what you did, if equipment was used, so that we can actually prepare an invoice to send out.
So to speak to that, I have the same problem at work. One of the things that we're doing is the field staff does put, we had 8 hours, we had this, but then we turn around in the office and we're the ones putting the
Right.
time to it or the dollars to it. But those are on what we call a daily time and material sheet. You could call it whatever you wanted, project sheet or whatever, but it's thing they carry in their trucks that's a carbon copy. And they always retain their own copy, but then they give you a copy and they say, well, you know, I turned this in to so-and-so. And that gives you a way to track that.
And I think it depends on, okay, what kind of program do you have to track something like that? I mean, the program we have now, and I haven't worked a whole lot in the permits section of it, there's a lot of different aspects to this program. But it does, you know, you begin the process by opening a new file, basically, and whether it be a permit or whatever, but then you can add the cost to that also and keep track of it. So, you know, instead of people calling the maintenance and saying, hey, I need to shut this line off, or I need something repaired or whatnot. I mean, they have to literally start with our office. And we've told maintenance that send them our way first, because we have to start it here.
And I appreciate the level of
get it.
complexity besides just the city staff, because then you have our old planners who no longer work for us, our current planners who must be at the maximum 50,000 by now, because we're in May, based on the work they've done, are very close. And then we have engineering, and everyone has different project codes. And so I understand the challenges it represents in billing besides the staff time. But I think we need the administration needs a process by which you're going to start billing for these things. And you have, and I understand it's complicated and maybe it's manual, but right now, otherwise what it means is that taxpayer dollars are going to pay, Alan, I don't mean to pick on you, for your time when you're in a pre-planning meeting with someone in a secret meeting because it's confidential. And then we're not billing for it. And that's not, like, that's just not okay. I understand that we've had challenges in what we can do and it's manual, but we need to bill for those. And it's not a new thing for tonight.
No, it's not, but we've actually started getting this into place.
Super. Can we get some information around can it be quantified what the dollar amount is that hasn't been billed from 2020 forward, please?
From
2020, when we started doing
20
fee schedules like this forward. Yeah.
to what hasn't been. billed
Yeah.
out? I don't know as if you can actually get that, Sarah. For the work that people have done for,
Even if
I don't even know where you would begin.
you could take a pause from the work, but you could say before the moratorium, especially all the planners work and the engineering time for these specific projects that was done, but didn't get billed out. I think it's something that needs to
I
be a
don't
project
even
the
know
city
where you
looks
would
at.
Begin on that. I really don't, because you would be guessing as to who did what.
From a
or-
staff perspective, I agree. I think some of the bigger dollars in the work, though, again, would have been, what was our planners' names before?
AHBL.
AHBL's several $100,000 invoice that was broken out by project that's associated with an address and work that wasn't turned around and rebuilt. They did do legitimate work for the city that was not on
Well,
certain things.
So I know that we are working on this. We are close to, in fact, we implemented the time cards today,
Mhm.
which will require them to fill in what's billable.
For city staff.
City staff,
Okay,
all city staff,
okay.
the engineer and the planners know what gets billed back. So it's not like we're ignorant of it now. We've got it all laid out. We know what we have to do. And I do believe they are working it.
Okay, that,
So I don't want to ask them to go back 2 years trying to sort all this past stuff out. I think we have to move forward from where we are. Most of those AHBL projects are done. I mean, if we, I don't know, can we go back 2 years and have a new developer?
Permit-
come
I
in
can.
and-
But it's not going to be something that I'm gonna be jumping on right now, because we've got other things that I'm still trying to get my annual report out that's due at the end of the month.
It's a
I'm,
lot
I'm
of
not
work.
gonna tell you no, but I'm not gonna say you're gonna have it right away.
I don't have a solution. I don't think it just falls on you for sure, Carla. I think it's a matter of going through some invoices. We have competent staff here. It sounds like there's a disconnect. I understand the internal billing. But the internal billing, I just want to be really clear, is different from AHBL's time incurred on projects. And it is a fundamental
Well,
problem
we
for
should
the
have,
city and the administration that
We
we've
should-
not charged people, but closed out their projects and allowed them to go live in their houses, open their businesses, and we haven't followed the fee schedule we had in the past. That's the concern that I have. It's okay if we don't solve it tonight, and it's great that you're making steps to do it. There's been significant dollars incurred in big buckets for getting and putting aside staff time and leaving that alone, and other real dollars that have been spent that can be quantified. So I just, we can leave that there if you want. But I think you need to have a process to make sure, besides the people's time, especially our outside consultants, are where the big dollars are on all of these projects.
well, they will be sending us invoices and we can see what
They've always sent us invoices. They're broke out by project, but the city, just like the fee schedule says, has to turn around then and rebill those customers that are using those services.
we understand that. I
Okay.
did not know what Rebecca was doing in the past or the other one that we
It was
had.
before her time. It's in 2020, before any of those people were there, even when we had old people. So happy to park it because we won't solve it tonight.
You aren't gonna solve it tonight, even if you go back, at one point, we did not. Go beyond a $300 fee or something.
Mhm.
That was all they got charged, period.
Yep.
And we got that changed and we're moving down that path. And I think this is an evolving piece. And I think we have to move forward. I don't know that the look back is going to do us any good because it's already lost.
Okay.
And to try to go recoup costs from somebody after they've been in a business a year or a house a year, it's going to be very difficult.
Is there a memo, Dan, that we could write to our files to acknowledge that, though, from a legal perspective? So it acknowledges, where we've been, because we've had challenges and that we don't consider it to be a material gifting of taxpayer funds.
Well, I would probably say, obviously, we want to make sure that we're accurate in that, but you can always put a memo in the file to explain that. I don't know if it's legally required, but it would certainly be valuable if the auditor were to look at it.
Well, we don't need to do things for an audit. We need to do them because it's the right thing for our agents.
Oh, I know, but I'm just trying to say that.
And I agree
Not
that that
legally
helps substantiate
required.
ourselves in an audit. Okay.
Now back to the task at hand. Determination of the sewer connection fee. That is quite a rate increase. How did we come about that idea? Jose, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You know anything about that?
I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I think me and Jenny were on the City of West Richland website, kind of going back and forth on different costs and we just, everything over there is just 2 or 3 times just more expensive than what we charge here in Benton City. And well, I know costs are going up every single day and it's pretty comparable. I actually did some homework for the city of Proctor and they're actually pretty comparable to the city of West Richland. We're kind of, like I said, way cheaper than they are. We're like half their cost.
Okay. My next comment is I would not remove the 4 or the 6-inch meters. Or, yeah, I would keep that in the code just in case. There might be a event And say it's a building of an apartment complex, right? Where they have one main line. It's a one-off thing, or we get some industrial site somewhere down the road here and they throw in a 4-inch meter. I would just keep it available.
That's fair. I think, the only thing with that is that, we just to be comparable, we'd have to raise the price on that as well. I'd
Yep,
have to just-
I'd do that.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I'd do that. That's fine.
Okay, okay.
And otherwise, nothing so far is jumping out at me as scary. So,
I think the one thing we did have for the community center, and I'm not seeing it on here.
I think it's at the very end.
The very end. But we have two different amounts for if you're a non-resident, you're gonna pay more than if you're a resident. And essentially because
Page 9.
they don't live here, there's a lot of times they'll tear things up. They don't care. And so it's like, well, if you're a non-resident, you can pay more to rent.
Yeah, that's what
rent it
Richland
at
does.
A higher deposit. And it's just to somewhat recoup fees that we end up paying. So.
fair enough.
Yeah, we see that everywhere.
It's a great idea.
Sounds like a plan. I don't have anything else on that.
Anyone else have any comments on that? If not,
Mayor Lehman, may I say something?
Go
This is Margaret. Sarah asked what the date that this is usually due, and what we had generally done in the past is discuss the fee schedule at the end of the year, like in December, and it's the first thing approved at the first of the year, January.
And I think the exceptions, because I spent quite a bit of time looking at the fee schedules when we were trying to establish a process 2 years ago, we're unsuccessful. That has generally been the process, except when the first time we made the change and then we needed to add something else. So I think there was a couple of years that it was done mid-year in addition to the end of the year, or the beginning of the year.
okay. So we'll finalize this with those additions that you talked about today. Okay. Thank you.
What do you got for I3 again?
I'm sorry.
What's on the agenda, I3 again? Wind turbines.
Yeah,
H3, you mean?
H3.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. I don't have the agenda sitting in front of me.
Okay. H3. I am again requesting permission to discuss the city's comments during the testimony that's taking place for stakeholders in the wind turbine hearings. What do you call that, Dan? What they're having is a hearing or something like that?
Well, it is a hearing. I think that there's been a challenge, and so I would just say it's. just a
It's
change.
been challenged,
It's a hearing.
yes, on procedural grounds. But if they should choose to move forward without the EIS, and they force the testimony early, I think that's what we're talking about.
Right, and I think the description would probably fit as a hearing.
Okay,
And your testimony, I think that it could be in writing, or it could be in a verbal setting too, but I think it'd be a hearing testimony.
okay, so I'm requesting permission to speak on behalf of the city.
I'll open the door on it. I don't have a problem with it. don't know that speaking to it is gonna do us much good.
Maybe not.
However, I think it's well worth an opportunity to just say, hey, all we want to do is have things adjusted to make everybody happy, a compromise. And to be civil about that and find a ground that both parties can work with is important. And that's my 2 cents.
And has previous conversation, everybody kind of knows where I stand on that, and I am in favor of this project as long as it continues to be on private property. I don't feel like we should have a say on what they do with their own land. So my suggestion, because we are trying to try to do what's fair and find compromise, would be if there is a participation on behalf of the city, that it be in writing and not in person.
I've already turned in ours in writing. I turned that in months ago. They're only letting certain people speak now.
Is there more, I guess, I mean, is the testimony though that you want to provide consistent with what we agreed to submit in
Yes.
writing?
Yes,
Okay,
it's the same thing.
okay.
I'm fine if it's just following up with what's already been said and clarifying any questions that might be asked, or it seems reasonable to me.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
I agree with the last few comments, as long as it's in line.
Okay, thank you. All right. I will let them know. I don't know when it is or if it is, but I will keep you posted. All right, then the last item, I've forgotten what that was. I didn't get it written down.
Architect.
Architect. Okay.
Architect City Hall review.
I had a meeting with the architect over at the old city hall. And what she has to do is revise some of the plans in order to get a bid, and Josh is here, so if you need to jump up here, and if I'm saying something wrong, let me know. But it was my understanding that the plans had to be revised in order for us to get bids on some of the cost-saving measures that we have installed in this. And she said that it would be quite easy to do it, and there's really not much that she had to do on the lower level at all. So, but now I understand what you said is an equipment schedule. So I was going to ask Alan about the equipment schedule. Is that something? The only change I know of is that we're not using the big HVAC system. We want to use the mini splits. Is that something that's easily obtained, or do you think the architect can do that? I haven't asked her.
I think, probably. Levi's help. So I can speak to this a little bit. So Josh, Damon, don't need to give my address again.
Okay, you better come.
Excuse me, Alan, could you come to, or whoever's speaking, could they come to the mic?
Yeah, we got him coming.
So I'm Josh Damon, 1525 Northeast 11th here in Benton City. On that equipment schedule, the questions came from many of the contractors that we currently have HVAC units on the roof and some other places. Depending on the best loadout with the mini splits and other things on the walls, various locations, they're wanting a load schedule to better plan out exactly how to provide what the building would need. And so they were asking either for a load schedule or an equipment schedule as such.
Okay.
Let's just hold hands.
Yeah, this is Alan, and previously we received that equipment schedule from a contractor who actually designed it out for us at that point. And so at this point,
I guess we'd be looking to do the same thing probably if, I don't know if you guys have somebody that's put together a list of materials. Okay. And I know one thing that I was curious about, not being real involved in HVAC, but I know they were talking about the air handling to exchange outdoor and indoor air.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was part of that whole mini split system.
Yes, they were looking at multiple units, not just mini splits, but they're also going to be bringing outside air in.
Okay, okay. I just know that was one of the issues that we ran into last night.
Yeah, so I know that I've been told there was an old equipment schedule. We could probably use that. However, at this time, I haven't been provided that. So if it exists somewhere.
It should be in the plans that I put on there.
Okay.
There should be an HVAC.
Well,
Plan set if,
we'll do some digging and
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with you if we can't find it.
okay, all right.
Okay, and I can ask Mrs. Tate to give us the loads. She can probably do that, calculate that, I would imagine.
I typically, I don't think architects get into the HVAC too much. It's more of a mechanical engineer or the,
But if it's like a load bearing wall, wouldn't they be able to calculate the strength of the wall?
no, this is the, for the HVAC system.
Oh,
I think that's what you're,
Yeah, I think it's on both sides because they want to be putting, the plan was currently, the old plan was they had 2 units on the roof and those would be replaced. There was no, at least document that provided at that time to say how much weight that would
oh,
support.
okay, okay.
That was low for that. And then they also needed the HVAC specs on air handling, air exchanges, and those things that you're kind of. getting
Right,
into.
right. And so that was Berkey Engineering who did structural evaluation.
Berkey,
Yeah. And he has a couple sets of plans in that whole packet. Yeah.
And are we just going through the process, I guess, Mayor, of finding out how much it would cost to fix that up for, and kind of weigh out the difference between the two? Is
yes,
that
we
what
are.
we're doing?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
And so apparently the work on the design will not be very difficult because she's not really moving any walls or anything upstairs. She's not budgeted though for this work. We had 14,000, which most of it has gone to Josh or will be going to Josh for his time. So I just wanted to bring that up. If I continue, we will have to give her some money to redo the plans.
It sounds like, Madam Mayor, that we may have a load schedule already, and for the equipment schedule, sounds like it might be something we have. So with the change of the architectural, the additional walls, it's something that I can bring back to many of the HVAC companies and see if it's something that we can work with before we jump in spending more money.
Well, we'll still have to pay her to do the plan.
That's correct.
She said
So-
she'd send me an estimate proposal. Okay, thank you. All right, then we will move on to items for approval. And the first one is the second reading of ordinance 1055, franchise agreement with Lightspeed Networks.
I move to approve second reading of ordinance 1055 franchise agreement with Lightspeed Networks, Inc., doing business as LS
Yes.
Networks between the city of Benton City and LS Networks.
Second,
All in favor?
Sandra, I.
Wadsworth, aye.
Great eye.
Funk eye.
Alcazar, I.
Okay, motion carries. Second item is 2023-07, ARPA disbursement agreement, Dale Avenue Water Sewer Project. Mr. Rainey. Did you have a question, Sarah?
Do we have to note anywhere about in the resolution that I was gonna just make a motion to approve it. We talked about it so much, but do we need to note anywhere in our motion to approve about the fact in exchange for some of our 09 money? Or that doesn't matter because that's something
We
great.
haven't gotten the paperwork. I have
Okay.
not. Have you gotten the paperwork on the? Because I talked to Adam last week and I talked to Mike Alvarez. And I said, we need to have something in writing that you're going to exchange this money. I said, I know we're moving forward with disbursements.
But I guess if we're moving forward with disbursements, and they don't give us the money, it's just free money for us. So I shouldn't worry about it, right? That makes sense. Okay, I got you on that one. Sorry. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay,
I believe it is in this, contract, is it not? This disbursement agreement? That's in part of the packet. There is some history in it, and I'm not as. conversant
I'm
as some-
sorry, I didn't see that.
So it's in number 9 on page 207. It talks about it. I mean, this is from the county. It looks good if it's been reviewed by our legal counsel too. I was just wondering if we need to note anything different in our sample motion was the only question that I had. Or if what's in there is sufficient. And if it is, because it's covered, then
You mean our resolution?
yeah.
Yeah, yes, well, it did so, based upon what was already in this agreement.
So when I make the motion, it says disbursement for use of ARPA funds for Dale Avenue project and the agreement to reimburse the city of Benton City. We don't need to say anything about the ARPA exchange there.
No,
That was my question. Okay. I move to approve resolution 2023-07 disbursement of use of ARPA Rescue Plan Act funds for the Dale Avenue Water and Sewer Project, and the county agrees to reimburse the city of Benton City up to $562,112 of qualified direct costs incurred by Benton City after execution of this agreement by both parties.
Second,
All in favor?
Sandra, I.
Wadsworth, I.
Great eye.
Plunk eye. Alcazar eye.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 3. 2023-08 ARPA disbursement agreement for lift station 4, lift station 5, and the generator project.
Madam Mayor, I believe there needs to be a correction to the motion because the amount on the yellow sheet is the same as 2023-07. The correct number should be as stated in the support down below, $947,552. Alan, I'm happy for you to confirm that though.
yes, that's what's on our estimate on the back page,
Okay, so
947,552.
I move to approve resolution 2023-08 disbursement of use of America Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA, for lift station number 4, lift station number 5, upgrades and generators, and the county agrees to reimburse the city of Benton City up to $947,552 of qualified direct costs incurred by Benton City after execution of this agreement by both parties.
Second,
All in favor?
Sandra, I.
Wadsworth, I.
Great eye.
Funk eye.
Alcazar, I.
Okay, motion carries. All right, item number 4. Task order 2023-06 Blacktop Estates Park Design and Coordination of Improvements.
So this is a task order for the design and layout of Blacktop Estates Park. I guess I'm not sure if that's going to be the final name of it, but that's what we're calling it for now. And this was in the budget laid out before you in the workshop. And so we're presenting this because it seemed like there was a desire to move forward with this as soon as possible.
I move to approve task order 2023-06 Blacktop Estates Park and coordination of improvements for Stink Engineering in the amount of $10,900.
Second.
All in favor?
Sandra, I.
Wadsworth, I.
Great eye.
Funk eye.
Alcazar, I.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Work
Motion
on that.
carries. All right. I think, Alan, you got all our money tonight, huh? Okay.
Has everybody had a chance to review the EFTs yet for the payroll?
So I had sent out an email to Sarah and Sarah and Bill on the Finance Committee regarding this, but I didn't get a response. I sent it last.
So I think
Thursday.
the current topic though is approving the vouchers. I
Oh,
think what you
that-
want to talk about is an executive
Yeah,
session.
okay.
Correct.
That
Okay,
sounds good.
So I
Right.
would make a motion to approve the payroll vouchers and to approve claim check number 32,522 for a total amount of $689.18 with EFTs in the amount of $53,875.03 for a total amount of $54,564.21.
Sandretto, seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Sandretto, aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Great eye.
Funk, aye.
Alcazar, I.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. So now we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll move into executive session.
How long are we gonna be in executive session?
I think this is probably going to take a half an hour. We have a number of things to talk about there.
Okay, so when we come back, we'll adjourn at 8:35 and be back 9:05.
9:05. That sounds good.
Get a little bit.
Yeah, you
Don't-
gave me a heart attack when you posted that planner position.
And are the
Outside
others,
space.
and
I was just like.
can they, all the people? Yeah,
oh, gee. I was like, oh, wait,
I saw that and I was like.
good evening, everyone. This is, excuse me, please. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm sorry to bring you back in, but there may be action to follow this executive session. Just wanted to make you aware. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're ending the executive session and calling the city council meeting back into order. There is no action to follow the executive session this evening. So with that, unless there are some closing comments, we will adjourn.
I do have one.
Okay,
July 4th is the first Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we probably wouldn't be having city council. I just want to get that on the radar, see what
yes.
what exactly we need
State
to
law would
do.
move it to the next day.
It would move it to the next day. to
Or we
July-
can cancel.
Or we
We
can
can
cancel.
always cancel it.
And we'll have National Night Out probably for the first council meeting of August. also.
Yeah, and that's typically something we cancel as well. So let's put the first one on the agenda for the next meeting to cancel the July 4th council meeting. So if you got stuff needs done, probably get it in the last meeting in June. I had something, but I forgot it. See, you guys made me forget.
Write it down.
I think we ought to figure out what we want to do about this moratorium ending.
That's what it was. What can we do? What's your time frame to set us down for first reading?
Well, I will say this, I've done a lot of work and, took the mayor's comments and I plugged them into a document that I really do think we need our planner who starts this week to get engaged in that, and we can be ready, I hope, more quickly than it would otherwise take.
June 6th?
gonna be gone.
Oh, you're gonna be gone. Will you be back on the 12th? Is it a workshop and then we vote on it right away?
Yeah, I should be back. I should be back on the 12th.
But Mayor Lehman won't be
Are you
back.
gonna be back?
On the June twelfth,
Right, you,
I think I can be. I think I get in at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, something like that. On the 12th.
well, Mayor, I know that we have, I don't want to tell you how to do anything with your new employee, but maybe you could share with him, starts on Thursday.
This Thursday, 2 days, 48 hours.
You know, I mean, I'd be glad to talk with him too, but you can probably talk with him and give him direction on that. I'd like somebody to, from a planning
Right.
standpoint.
He's coming in and I think the current planners would like to discuss how much transition he thinks he needs and because they've got to pass the baton over to
Will he
him.
be here Friday?
Pardon?
Will he be here Friday?
He's supposed to be here Thursday
No, I meant, will you have time that,
to meet on Friday.
right,
Yeah,
okay. Would,
I think I already set something up. I can't remember, but I think I did with Brandon.
Yeah.
The time to do that, so,
Sounds like we're getting into minutia.
Yeah.
So June 12th, first reading. You got that covered. Then we'll vote on the second meeting. Call it good.
June 20th. And if somehow, if by magic, you can figure it out and we can do it at the first council meeting, June 6th, because Madam Mayor's been involved in everything.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to entertain a first reading,
okay.
June
if-
6th.
what
Get out
I
of the
was-
moratorium.
I will be gone.
You'll be gone though.
Yeah.
What I was gonna suggest is we,
We-
Well, give me a
Wouldn't somebody be, wouldn't you be sending a substitute?
But they won't know what's going on.
I think we set up a series of meetings this month that we could possibly meet. Didn't we choose the 30th for something and
We got
another, and
no.
Anything on the 30th?
So June 12th, and if we do a first reading on June 12th, that's already scheduled Monday, June 12th. And then.
but
go
we
from
could have
there.
the second reading on a special meeting following that if we wanted to,
Good.
but none of us will be here.
But
But that's all right. We don't have to be here for the second reading, I wouldn't think.
Well, second reading after June 12th, after the June 12th meeting,
Yeah,
when would you be back?
On the
I get back on the 12th and then I leave again on the 20th
Oh,
or the
there's room for another
19th
meeting,
or whatever that is.
Maybe.
yeah, get the ordinance drafted, have it here on the 12th. And if you could put it on the agenda, Madam Mayor, that'd be great.
Okay, and then we'll see when we could meet the next time.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Who meetings we're gonna get back.
I just think these developers are just gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, that's moving as fast as, that's moving faster than it could have been.
Yeah,
We are more prepared than we might have been if we had to just sit back and do nothing until.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
I'm